Yo guys, welcome back to another video on the second channel. The weekend league is coming up, so I wanted to make a video that maybe will help you guys with some tactics and some things to understand about how to beat drop back. It's a very crazy video because a lot of people are resorting to using drop back as the AI is still super overpowered this year, and this game is based around possession play. So in order to counter that, a lot of people right now are playing drop back for low depth. And so this video will hopefully help you guys with a few different formations and tactics that will really help you beat the drop back people. There's no easy way to put it. You do have to have some sort of attacking intelligence to beat the drop back, but there are ways and play styles that I'm going to talk about that should help you guys at least break them down and get a few more shots and things like that. So if you guys enjoy the video, drop a thumbs up. I guess from this video, if you guys try out any of the tactics, let me know, what they do for you guys, right? If they help you guys out at all and things like that. So we are going to show you guys a few different scenarios in which you would use, these tactics, right? Where they can help you and talk about certain scenarios that would work. So if you enjoyed the video, again, just let me know. Another thing to talk about just before we get into it is that the way drop back works is that a lot of the midfielders will sit on top of the center backs. So your main goal within beating a team that's dropping back is you want to make them frustrated so they drag their center mids out, and you want to have them isolating their center backs from each other. Drop back causes the opponent to play a very narrowness with the center backs, and you really ultimately want to have the center backs stretched out as much as possible. So hopefully some of these tactics help you guys out. They are pretty savage, and I do recommend practicing your manual defending if you're going to rock these tactics, because you will be open to getting countered. So just keep that in mind, but they should help you guys out a little bit. So the first one we're going to talk about is the 3-5-2. It is an absolute drop back killer. It's a drop back killer. How do I reset this? Reset current tactics. Do you want to reset your ultra attacking to their default values? Okay. All right. You know what? We're just going to do it right here. So we're going to do it as the generic. All right. I'm just going to get rid of this. So we're going to go down here. Now what you're going to do is pressure on heavy touch. This is something that I have tried out and it does work. Pressure on heavy touch, and you're not going to necessarily need 7 depth. I would say 6 depth, but make sure your depth is not 5. You want to have 6 or 7 depth. Don't play like this. If you play like this, it's going to be crazy. But I would do maybe even 7. I think 7's okay. When I first got a 30-0 in Weekend League in January last year, I used the 4-1-2-2 narrow, which we'll talk about, but I played 8 depth. I played 8 depth, boys. 8 depth I played as a tactic. So I'm telling you guys, man, it's not that bad. You just have to be a fantastic manual defender. So 7 or 6 depth is what I would say. Make sure pressure on heavy touch is on. Don't do constant pressure yet. We'll talk about that. Pressure on heavy touch. In terms of the offensive style, keep it on balanced. Now, what I'm going to tell you here is for players into the box, just keep it on 5 because you don't want to get countered, and keep your corners on free kicks on a little bit lower so you don't get countered. The width, I would do, again, 6 or 7, because the goal of this formation is that you hope to achieve the idea of spreading the defense out. You want to drag the defenders out. So when we see the formation, when you guys are showed it in a second, you guys will understand. So the first formation I would be using to completely just beat drop back is the 3-5-2. Now, the 3-5-2 is interesting because you get more with the 3-5-2 than you get with the 4-1-2-2. And the difference between the two formations is that the 3-5-2 is a wider variant of the 4-1-2-2 narrow, and it's a little bit more of an attacking variant. But the thing that I like about it is that you feel like you have a lot of support on the outside, which is nice. And the perfect players to play at the left mid or the right mid are players with high pace and high work rates, right? With decent defending. Not amazing, you could have 60 or 70, but players that are just going to get back and forth, have physical stats to get in the way of things. And so that's what I really recommend. So for this formation, you're going to want to, I know the players are all over the place, so don't look at it, but like Alex Telles is a decent left mid in a 3-5-2, right? Because Alex Telles can go forward. He's got high work rates. And he's a player that is going to be able to give you offensive and defensive support, but he's going to run the line, and that's a big deal because you're going to want to drag out the CDM to the line, right? Get the fullback stretched and work on getting the inside pass. So the 3-5-2, in the way that I would do it instruction-wise, because I know you guys are big on instructions, get those strikers on getting behind. Get those guys running in, making the areas of runs that they're not unbalanced. And not only that, if you have players with high stamina, aggressive interceptions. What this will do is ultimately, even when you're not pressing, your strikers are going to go crazy on their center back. So the thing about dropping back and trying to counter it is that when they do win the ball, or when the AI wins the ball, they're going to have to build out. They're going to have to do something. So if you have your strikers all over them, they're going to lose their mind. So that's a big deal. On the wide mids, I would not do necessarily stay forward. What I would do is come back on defense, because if you don't play your wide mids on comeback on defense, you're going to be more vulnerable than you ever want to be with your team. But something that I would do is get it cut, not cut inside, but I would keep them on stay wide and get in behind, right? So what's going to start to happen here is that when your midfielders have the ball, your center midfielders, and Allen per se the right mid, what's going to happen is that Tellez and Allen, for example, not saying they're going to be my left and right mids, but what they will do with these tactics is they are going to push the line. So if you have the ball in the center mid, say Matuidi has it, you've got an option with Dembele, and say you pass the ball to Dembele. Say my cam is Dembele. What you're going to notice is the way you're facing, and especially if you're holding L1 to trigger the run, or LB on Xbox, your wide mids are going to start making just insane runs up and down the pitch. So that's a big deal. And then in terms of the cam, I would keep the cam either on basic or come back on defense, because the way that it's going to work is on defense, you're going to have a big hole. You're going to have kind of a block of 7 and then the front 3 standing up front. So you want him to kind of drop in to hold off the opponent's 6, which would be the CDM. You don't want to give them too much space. So if you have set my example of Usman to come back, it will help out a little bit. In terms of the center mids, you guys can do whatever you want. What I would suggest is just keeping one of them on stay back, the more defensive one, but keep them both on cover center. It's important that you keep these guys in the middle on cover center, because what can happen if you don't is that they can almost drift wide, and you really don't want these guys to drift wide. It's important that you keep them in the middle, because it's going to help, counter against that. Now, what's really important with this formation specifically that you guys are seeing is that you've got an overload, and you're going to be constantly looking for an overload. So what I would suggest to beat this drop back, work on your possession, right? Work on possession outside of the box, and work on your ability to make the opponent who is dropping back against you frustrated, right? Use possession play. Hold the ball around the box and then pick your moments to choose and to shoot and score. Theoretically, with these left and right mids making these runs all game, their left and right back are not going to be able to drop back into the center of a block of what the opponent wants. So those guys will be distracted as your left and right mids are now going to make runs. And then what you will have is the center backs are not going to be able to be as narrow, because if they are, your strikers now have holes in between the left back and the center back and the right back and the center back to make runs. So that's why the 3-5-2, in my opinion, is almost the drop back killer always. You guys will see me when I stream. When I'm down in a game and a guy's parking it because he's up a goal against me and he knows it's like, you know what, he's going to try to take the win, and he's not as good of a player. It's not all the time, but sometimes when I'm down, I will literally switch to 3-5-2. I will turn on pressure on heavy, and I'll drop a 7 depth and just full send it. So that's a great formation you guys can use. Another formation that I really like that we'll talk about is the 4-1-2-2 narrow. Now, this is a formation that you're going to need to listen to the exact tactics on this formation, because they're going to really be important to the way that you end up playing the formation. So on this 4-1-2-2 narrow, what I would do is a pressure and heavy touch. I would do a 6 depth. This is what I used a lot of the time last year. I really, really enjoyed it. Keep the width on 5. You're not going to need the width. This is a little bit more of a narrow way to break down the opponent. Don't necessarily put on the width really, really, really huge, because it's not as good. Again, same thing for players in the box, corners, and free kicks. Same thing there. Now, the difference is when we go to the 4-1-2-2 and I show it to you guys, the difference between this formation, it's important that you see this, right? So, where are we? 4-1-2-2 narrow. Probably scroll past it like 3 times now. So this is it. It's the narrow. It's not the wide. Now, what you're going to want to do with these guys is the same thing with the strikers. Get in behind, and aggressive interceptions. You're going to want to keep the cam this time. The cam this time is going to stay, or is going to change this time to stay forward, right? You're going to have a triangle of 3 always up top making runs, and that's super important. Your CDM is going to be on stay back, cut passing lanes, and cover center. That's a huge one. It's the directions you want. And you're going to let your left and your right center mid on nothing. You're going to actually keep them and let them roam. Now, if you have a more attacking player in this formation, you guys should 100% let them go and get forward, right? Try it out. I know it's kind of savage, but let them make those attacking runs. For example, if I have Kevin De Bruyne, I might move him from balanced to get forward. It is really important that in the left and the right center mid position, when you're trying to attempt to beat a drop back player with this formation, you need to try to use a left or right center mid that has high work rates. It is very important because you want them to make forward runs, and you also want them to, really importantly, to track back when you're about to get countered. It's a big deal, right? You don't want to get countered all the time, so it's important that they track back when you get countered. And the biggest thing for this formation that you guys need to know is the left and the right back, right? These guys need to be on balanced attack. That's it. Nothing there. Do not put these guys on stay back. I'm going to repeat to you, this formation does not work if you guys play your left and your right back on stay back. It's not going to work. It's going to suck, and it's going to be really hard to score because you're going to have no wide support. These guys, again, will do the same thing we talked about in the 3-5-2, which is distracting the opponent's AI. Beating drop back, guys, is all about the ways in which you distract the opponent's AI. You guys are trying to create as many runs and as many things going on, so whether it's the opponent's AI or it's the opponent's actual defending, to just be in the state of distraction. You do not want them to be focused on the central part of the pitch. You want to keep them busy and going out wide. So there is one formation I like a lot as well, and I would still use all the same tactics that I've been showing you guys, and that's also the 4-4-2. I really like the 4-4-2. I think this is a very good formation to use in terms of getting at somebody. So right, left and right back, obviously on balance. Now for this, I would keep my wide mids on stay forward. If you want to really suffocate somebody with this formation, keep your left and right mid on stay forward and have your strikers on getting behind. You're going to have 4 players making constant runs forward with 2 supporting center mids. And it's a similar concept to the 3-5-2 where you're just getting an overwhelming amount of support on the attack. So guys, look, drop back is not easy to beat. It's really hard to beat it this year because the AI is still very decent, but it is beatable. You just have to adapt. I see a ton of people all the time complaining that their tactics are not working, and they're playing a 4-2-3-1, with 3 depth and no players and getting behind, and they're not making changes. If you guys are playing drop back and you're struggling and the dude's a potato, like he's not good at the game, switch to tactics, okay? Switch to tactics, gentlemen, that are going to overload your opponent. We're talking 6, 7, 8 depth, pressure on heavy. Even in a situation where you're really chasing a game, who cares? Put that thing on constant pressure. It doesn't matter, right? Make your opponent go crazy, bro. So the fact that when you're all up in his grill, he's got to get out, right? That's how it's got to be. So hopefully some of the tactics help, guys. This is, I know, a big deal in FIFA right now. It is very hard to be drop back. It is super annoying. So hopefully the tactics can find you guys in a way that will be helpful and useful to you guys in your progression and your gameplay in the future. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys as always. See you guys soon. Peace out.